How did medieval manors deal with crop failure and famine? Imagine living in a time when a bad harvest could mean hunger or even starvation for your entire community. When crops failed in medieval times, manors had to find ways to survive tough times. A manor was a large estate that included the lord's land worked by peasants, and some land owned by free farmers. The economy depended heavily on farming, so when weather or pests ruined crops, everyone felt the impact. Crop failures often happened because of bad weather like too much rain, cold temperatures, or shorter growing seasons. During the early 14th century, the Little Ice Age caused colder weather, making harvests even harder to get. The Great Famine from 1315 to 1322 was a terrible example, when heavy rains and cold weather ruined crops across Europe, leading to widespread hunger and death. To handle these crises, manors used several strategies. First, they managed labor and resources carefully. Serfs and peasants worked both the lord's land and their own. During shortages, lords might reduce demands for work or rents to ease the burden. Sometimes, lords provided food or relief to keep their workers healthy and able to work during planting and harvest times. Second, people had to make do with what they had. Peasants often ate wild foods like berries or tree bark when crops failed, but this meant they often suffered from malnutrition and became more vulnerable to disease. Because transportation was limited and expensive, importing grain from other regions was rarely an option. Grain could cost twice as much every 50 miles transported, making outside help difficult. During famines, prices soared, and many could not afford enough food. Manorial courts kept records of deaths and land transfers, showing how famine affected populations and landholding patterns. Sometimes, communities and lords tried to help the poorest by giving charity, but these efforts could only do so much when the crisis was widespread. In the long run, some manors tried to adapt by planting different crops or improving storage methods. Yet, the feudal system made it hard to change farming practices quickly. Overall, manors responded to crop failures through managing labor, rationing food, relying on local resources, and offering limited social aid. The feudal structure meant lords balanced their needs with those of their peasants, but the fragile agricultural system was always vulnerable to weather and climate changes.